Stepmother's Twilight. Chapter 1 Forced Fate. In the summer when Lin Ruoxiu was 18 years old, it rained heavily. She ran all the way, mud and splashes under her feet, and her mind was full of letters from home she had just received. Her mother was seriously ill and hoped she would go home soon. The rain mixed with tears blurred my vision. Suddenly, she slipped into the icy river, and the current swept her away in an instant. Fortunately, a strange man by the river rescued her. The man's name is Shen Yangxuan, over 30 years old, mature and steady, with a magnetic voice that is difficult to ignore. "Are you okay?" he asked in a low voice, his eyes as deep as night. Due to family pressure and financial difficulties, Lin Ruoxiu had to accept Shen Yangxuan's proposal to marry him and become the second wife of this second married family. Since then, her life seems to be locked in a cage, and she began a life of sacrificing herself for others and enduring it silently. Chapter 2 Silent Sacrifice. After 3 years of married life, Lin Ruoxiu almost gave up on herself. She gets up early every day to prepare breakfast, take care of housework, and take care of the child left by Shen Yangxuan's ex-wife, her stepson Gu Zifan. Gu Zifan looked docile at first glance, but in fact he was cunning, and he always had an inexplicable sense of rejection of Lin Ruoxiu. "This is my room, don't touch it." Gu Zifan coldly dropped a sentence and turned to leave. Lin Ruoxiu gritted her teeth and endured the grievances in her heart, silently sorting out the scattered books, but an indescribable pain welled up in her heart. She began to think that as long as she gave enough love and effort, her family would one day accept her. However, on that day 3 years later, Gu Zifan finally kicked her out of the house. "You're just a superfluous person, get out." Lin Ruoxiu held her luggage in her hand, tears slipped silently, and her heart was like a knife. She knew that what she had worked hard for in her life was just a cold eviction order. Chapter 3 The Loneliness of Dusk. After Lin Ruoxiu was kicked out of the house, she rented a cottage on the outskirts of the city. The house was simple, and even the heating was often broken, but she forced herself to smile and told herself that she could still live. During the day, she worked as a temporary assistant, laundry, and food delivery, earning a meager living expenses. At night, she recalled the sweet times of the past with her memory, but she always had tears in her eyes. However, loneliness is not the most painful. The most painful thing is the unspeakable loss in my heart. Love, family affection, and home have never truly belonged to me. 3 years passed, and her body began to feel strangely tired. The corners of her eyes were covered with fine lines, and her hair was gray early. Lin Ruoxiu knew that this was not ordinary fatigue, but a sense of exhaustion that spread from the depths of her soul. Her life passed slowly unconsciously. Chapter 4 Memories are like a flood. One evening, Lin Ruoxiu sat by the window and took out an old photo. In the photo, the moment she was rescued when she fell into the water when she was 18 years old, Shen Yangxuan held her hand tightly with gentle eyes. "If I had been able to choose for myself, maybe everything would have been different," she whispered softly. Memories flooded back like a flood. After 3 years of marriage, all the festivals were silently prepared by her alone. Gu Zifan's birthday, Shen Yangxuan's birthday, she was busy like a shadow. What was exchanged was just in different eyes and the final eviction order. For the first time, Lin Ruoxiu felt that her life's efforts were so lonely and powerless. Chapter 5 An Unexpected Reunion. 3 years later, Gu Zifan became a teenager, and his father Shen Yangxuan finally understood that Lin Ruoxiu's efforts had never been cherished. He found Lin Ruoxiu through a friend, but he never saw the energetic girl again. Lin Ruoxiu was in the cabin, her figure was thin, her breathing was a little weak, but she still maintained her composure. "Ruoxiu." Shen Yangxuan choked up, his eyes full of regret. Lin Ruoxiu smiled slightly, holding the wedding photo that had long faded in her hand. "Shen Yangxuan, it's been 3 years, do you know how I'm doing?" Shen Yangxuan was speechless. Gu Zifan stood aside, and for the first time he felt that in his stepmother's world, there was actually a deeper loneliness hidden than himself. Chapter 6 Silent Departure. Lin Ruoxiu passed away quietly in the 3rd year after being kicked out of the house. She left in a calm manner, without quarrels, without crying, only the air in a hut, as if she had lost her weight. Shen Yangxuan and Gu Zifan saw her diaries, letters, and even small handicrafts in the past 3 years in the relics she left behind. It turns out that she has been. Shen Yangxuan muttered to herself, tears falling like broken beads. Gu Zifan lowered his head and felt the weight of guilt for the first time. The woman who kicked out of the house by herself had never really been happy. Chapter 7 Leaving Love in the World. After the news of Lin Ruoxiu's death came out, many people realized her greatness. Neighbors, friends, and people who had helped her came to see her off, leaving countless bouquets and eulogies. Shen Yangxuan said in a trembling voice at the memorial service, "Ruoxiu, you have not received the love you deserve in this life, but we will protect every beauty in this world for you." Gu Zifan knelt in front of the tomb, tears rolled down, and he silently swore in his heart, "Stepmother, I will never forget your life. I will let your efforts become an eternal light in our hearts." Chapter 8 Silent Struggle. The day Lin Ruoxiu was expelled from the house was not completely obedient. She learned to be strong in loneliness and cold, and learned to fight for a little dignity for herself. Every morning, she would sweep the floor at the door of the cottage, sort out the old things discarded by her neighbors, and make a living on her meager income. Even a small victory can warm her heart slightly. By chance, she saw a collection of scripts on an abandoned bookshelf with the cover "Secrets of the Old Days" written on it. Lin Ruoxiu was attracted and started reading after buying it, studying silently under the dim light at night, imagining what it would be like if she could return to the stage and regain control of life. She never stopped fighting against life, even if it was silent and no one understood. Chapter 9 The Gradually Disintegrating Family. Shen Yangxuan and Gu Zifan's life was not as peaceful as imagined after Lin Ruoxiu left. Gu Zifan gradually showed rebellion, his grades declined, and his relationship with his father became more and more estranged. Shen Yangxuan looked through the diary left by Lin Ruoxiu late at night, feeling extremely guilty. He began to understand that this woman silently supported the whole family in the days when he turned a blind eye. "Ruoxiu, if you're still here, I'll show you that I can do more than you think." Shen Yangxuan held the diary, his voice trembling. Chapter 10 Gu Zifan's Repentance. Gu Zifan gradually understood in his loneliness that his prejudice and indifference since he was a child were an unspeakable harm to Lin Ruoxiu. He began to look for clues she left behind, unsent letters in the cabin, concern for him in his diary, small but warm living habits. "I always thought she was just an insignificant person. It turns out that she is stronger than I imagined." Gu Zifan whispered to himself, feeling the regret and emptiness in his heart for the first time. However, it was too late. Lin Ruoxiu's life was like a burned candle, unable to warm up. Chapter 11 The Last Twilight. Lin Ruoxiu spent her last days in loneliness. She had no severe torture of illness, only fatigue and soul exhaustion day after day. One morning, she sat in front of the window, looking at the rising sun in the distance, and a smile appeared in her heart. "Perhaps, this is my world," she whispered softly. In the evening, she closed her eyes quietly and passed away silently as if she had fallen asleep. In the hut, there are only dappled lights and shadows outside the window, telling her loneliness and silent struggle. Chapter 12 Remembrance and Awakening. The news spread, and people who had been helped by her came to the hut to pay their respects. The neighbors said, "Ruoxiu has been silently paying, but we have never really noticed." Shen Yangxuan knelt in front of her bed, held her hand, and cried bitterly. "Ruoxiu, I'm sorry, we all missed you." Gu Zifan stood aside, feeling the hurt caused by his indifference for the first time. His eyes were full of tears. Although Lin Ruoxiu's life was lonely and sad, her love and tenacity deeply influenced these people. They began to understand that the so-called home is not just blood, but a continuation of love and dedication. Chapter 13 The Light Left Behind. After Lin Ruoxiu's death, the notes, letters, and small items she left behind were sorted out by Shen Yangxuan and Gu Zifan. Each page of text is like a faint light, illuminating a world they have never seen before. Shen Yangxuan set up a small fund to help those like Lin Ruoxiu who paid silently but were ignored. Gu Zifan wrote Lin Ruoxiu's story into an article and published it in the newspaper, which became a deep reflection on the stepmother and the women in the family and society. Although she is not there, her tenacity, kindness and love continue quietly in the world like light. Chapter 14 The Legacy Voice. In the days after Lin Ruoxiu's death, Shen Yangxuan and Gu Zifan's lives seemed to have lost their center of gravity. Every corner is filled with her breath, a vase by the window, a notebook on the table, the spoon she last cooked still in the kitchen. Shen Yangxuan would read her diary every day, and felt her silent struggle and love between the lines. For the first time, he understood that the life he once took for granted was countless compromises and patience for her. Gu Zifan also read in the letter left by Lin Ruoxiu that she had never spoken of her worries and expectations. In the letter, she wrote, "If one day I am gone, I hope you can still remember that I loved you and I hope you love each other." This remaining voice, like a warm light, slowly shone into their hearts. Chapter 15 Broken and Rebuilt. Gu Zifan took the initiative to enter the orphanage for the first time to help children who had been abandoned or neglected. He turned Lin Ruoxiu's love for the children into action during his lifetime. Shen Yangxuan converted her cottage into a public welfare center, named Ruoxiu Home, for people in need to live temporarily, and provide vocational training and psychological counseling. Both of them understood that Lin Ruoxiu's departure was not the end, but the beginning. She taught them in a silent way that the power of love and kindness can transcend life and death and affect more people. Chapter 16 Gu Zifan's growth. Time passed slowly, and Gu Zifan gradually broke away from the rebellious period of his youth and began to mature. He met many like-minded friends in Ruoxiu's house and learned to make up for his past mistakes with actions. One day, when he was flipping through Lin Ruoxiu's diary, he saw a passage she wrote, "Don't be afraid of love and giving because of my departure, the meaning of life is to love bravely." This sentence deeply shocked him, and he was determined to continue this love throughout his life and not let Lin Ruoxiu's efforts be in vain. Chapter 17 Reconciliation with the Past. Shen Yangxuan and Gu Zifan gradually regained their lives, and they began to face the rifts in their families. Gu Zifan walked to his biological mother and reconciled with her. Shen Yangxuan also communicated with his parents, trying to make up for the indifference he once had. Every reconciliation is a consolation for Lin Ruoxiu and a salvation for her own soul. The pain and regret of the past are slowly filled by understanding and action. They understood that although Lin Ruoxiu left, her spirit and values had been integrated into her family and society, shining like starlight. Chapter 18 The Continuation of Light and Shadow. Ruoxiu Home gradually gained fame, and more volunteers and members of society joined to help more people in need of care. Gu Zifan stood on the balcony of the center, looking at the busy volunteers, thinking of Lin Ruoxiu's smile. His eyes no longer only had regret, but also a firm promise, "I will pass on this love and not let it disappear." Shen Yangxuan is busy organizing various public welfare activities, and he often flips through Lin Ruoxiu's diary alone at night, recalling her ordinary but great life. He knew that although she was gone, her spirit was still alive in everyone who was helped. Chapter 19 The Last Smile. One morning many years later, Gu Zifan held a commemorative event at the Ruoxiu house. Many people shared stories of how they had been helped, some cried, some smiled, and many more felt the power of love in silence. He looked at these people, as if he saw Lin Ruoxiu's shadow, and every smile was the mark she left. "Ruoxiu, look, we did it," Gu Zifan said softly. The breeze blew, and he seemed to hear her gentle laughter coming from afar. That laughter is not sadness, but peace and satisfaction. Chapter 20 Postscript. Lin Ruoxiu's life is the epitome of countless people who have paid silently and have been ignored. Although her life was full of tragedies, her love and tenacity illuminated the lives of others like starlight. She tells us with her life, even if loneliness and pain follow you, don't stop loving and giving. Even if you leave, you can leave behind a light that affects people's hearts. Ruoksu home has become a beacon of love and kindness in the city, reminding everyone to cherish those who give silently in front of them, because of them, the world is warmer. Lin Ruoksu is gone, but her story will always continue in people's hearts.